Thank you for joining me on the Tortoise and the Hare Financial Podcast. My name is Jim Leo, and I am partner of TVH Group, president of TVH Financial, and private wealth advisor at Raintree Financial Solutions. In this week's episode, I'm going to go through a blog post that was written by Newport Private Wealth, and it's titled, "Why Purpose is Key to a Happy Retirement." Now, I'm not going to read through the entire blog post. What I am going to do is highlight some points in this post and share with you my experiences in helping clients financially prepare for their retirement and the realities of what actually happens, from how they romanticize about their retirement to the realities of what actually happens when they are finally retired. But first, let's hear from my sponsor, Anchor.fm. So the blog post, again, was written by Newport Private Wealth, or at the very least, you can find it on their website. So if you'd like to read it for yourself, I'd encourage you to go to their website, newportprivatewealth.ca, and you can go on their featured section, and you'll be able to find this post, "Why Purpose is Key to a Happy Retirement." The reason why I thought this was really important for me to discuss is because I've obviously been in the financial industry for 30 years, and one of the things that I help a lot of my clients with is prepare for retirement from a financial perspective. And in the 30 years, it's amazing the different emotional steps that people go through from when they're planning for their retirement. It's very exciting, and people tend to romanticize of what retirement's going to look like. They envision, fishing all day long as much as they want to fish, or going out golfing every single day, or things like just hanging out at the cottage, or even traveling, hanging out on a beach, and doing that for the rest of their retirement years. And it's very exciting and very soothing for a lot of people. And then there's the people who really hate their jobs, and they just can't wait until that date of retirement approaches. And the reality of it is as people romanticize about what retirement's going to look like, reality is there's a lot of anxiety and fear and uncertainty and even depression once people reach that stage. So there's a couple of points in the article or the blog post itself that I'm going to be highlighting here. The first point is something you might want to do is uh, carve out a new pastime. And really what this means is that, a lot of people will retire and they will try to figure out what they're going to do in retirement from an activity perspective. Again, you can only golf so much. You can only fish for so much, especially if you're planning on staying here in Canada. We only really have a few short months where we can enjoy the weather to enjoy some of those activities. The other consideration is also from a physical perspective. I've known many clients who would tell me that when they retire, they're going to go and just golf. They're going to get a membership at a golf course and they're going to golf. And then once they've reached that stage, physically they're not able to do it. You just don't know if you're going to need a hip replaced or a knee or two replaced, or if you might have some kind of other ailment. And what I do find is when we live our lives as young individuals, some with families, as we're building our careers, we tend to forget some of the hobbies or some of the activities that we quite enjoyed. I'll use me as an example. I used to play classical guitar. Many of you don't know that, and went as far as the eighth stage at the Royal Conservatory of Music. And I loved music, and I loved playing the guitar and multiple instruments, actually. And I haven't touched my guitar in probably 20 years, and it's not because I don't want to or I've lost the love for it. It's I'm busy raising a family and running a business and spending time with my other family members and friends. So that activity kind of was set aside. I used to also love building model cars. That was a favorite pastime of mine. And again, I probably haven't touched one in well over 30 years. And these are just some examples. I have clients the same thing. So if you're someone who had a hobby and it's kind of been sitting or it's been set aside because of life, and life happens, right? One of the things you need to do once you're getting close to retirement is try to find that new pastime. Don't wait till you're retired and try to figure it out. Again, a lot of people that I've worked with have romanticized about spending all their time at the cottage. And it's great to romanticize about it, but reality is, and this is what I found with clients who have reached the retirement stage and then they do move to their cottage full time, thinking it's going to be wonderful. Well, they don't take into consideration that, physically you're not the same when you're visualizing retirement as a 30 or 40-year-old. Physically, you're very different than once you're 60, 65, 70, because there's a lot of things, as an example, from a maintenance perspective, that a cottage would require that it's very difficult to do once you are retired. So you might want to, I'm not saying you shouldn't, retire at your cottage and do those things. What I'm saying is just don't let that be the only focus. Try to find some other things as well that'll keep you busy. Another thing about planning on retiring at a cottage that I found with a lot of my clients is, once you're in the 60s and 70s, there are health issues that tend to creep up. And sometimes they require, a 2-hour drive down to a major city to see your specialist. And it might be a frequent requirement. You might have to go every 3 months, maybe once a month, once every 6 months. It's difficult to do. It becomes very exhausting. And then there's the winter aspect. I don't know too many people that really love winter or enjoy winter activities when they're retired. But when you're living at a cottage, as an example, and it's winter, well, there's a lot of snow and it becomes very cold north of, the city, and you become isolated because of the weather. So try to find something else to do. I've had some clients who took up painting. It's something they've always wanted to do, and that's what has kept them busy. Again, getting back into music. Sure, enjoy your golf, enjoy your fishing, absolutely, but try to find something that will help you throughout the winter months when it's cold outside and you're not able to enjoy those outdoor activities. Keep your mind busy. A lot of people, there's a common challenge, and this is actually coming from the blog post itself. And I'm going to read this part here because it's very important. I've actually experienced it with a lot of my clients. Studies show that many wealthy individuals struggle in months and years after calling it a career. Sometimes that's due to boredom, right? And, what tends to happen, as an example, you'll look forward to retirement and you're looking forward to sleeping in, and you enjoy it maybe for the first 2, 3, max 6 months. And after that, you quickly realize, this is something that I'm going to be doing for the next 20 years of my life. It's quite boring. And I think some people who are dealing with the whole COVID pandemic situation, being at home, are quickly realizing that if this is what retirement is mostly going to look like, it's not a whole lot of fun. So the boredom kicks in while some former business owners or executives long to reclaim the exhilaration of their working years. After all, the structure and excitement of running or growing a business can be difficult to replicate in retirement. And this doesn't just apply to someone who's a business owner or building a career, it's just working, socializing, being around people. Most people like the jobs that they do. There are a few that I do find that hate what they're doing and are absolutely counting the days until retirement. But most people, when I ask them about their work, they like what they're doing. I have found some clients who thought that they really didn't like their job or didn't like their work. They'd retire, and 6 months later, they're going back to work again, at least on a part-time basis. And they would say things like, I didn't realize that I actually enjoyed waking up first thing in the morning. And having a coffee and reading the paper and getting dressed up and, going down to the office. Like, I didn't realize that I would miss those things. And sometimes people realize that they actually do. I've had some clients in retirement, not that they need it from a financial perspective, but they would sign up to a placement agency and just let them know, listen, these are the days I'm available. These are the days that I'm not. If you have something that will fit into my schedule, great, book me in. And it allows them to stay busy, stay in the workforce, but also it allows them to have extra days off when they want to enjoy their extra long weekends, right? Now, going back to the blog post itself, perhaps it's no surprise then that approximately 30 to 40% of retirees experience depression in the first 2 years after leaving work. According to the Canadian Psychological Association, older adults who experience depression are 2 to 3 times more likely to die prematurely than those who don't, with depression constituting the primary suicide risk among seniors. And again, this is something that I have experienced with individuals where the first year or two after they retire, they are dealing with some level of depression. Specifically, individuals who are professionals, I tend to find that with, right? I'll give you an example: doctor or lawyers. For 40 years of their lives, they were known as a doctor or a lawyer. That's how they were identified. That's how they identified themselves. And all of a sudden, they retired, and they were no longer a doctor. They were no longer a lawyer. And some people have had a very difficult time of dealing with that transition of not being known as who they were addressed as during their working years. Another thing that happens when people retire, especially if there was some form of traumatic event in their lives, a death of a loved one, someone really close unexpectedly, I find that a lot of people tend to not really mourn those situations properly. And then when they're retired, well, you have a lot of time on your hands and you now have a lot of time to think about these situations. And the mourning process starts, and sometimes it'll start 10, 20, 30 years after the traumatic event. And now you're dealing with it and you're forced to deal with it. And it becomes very, very difficult. So, I've had a lot of people who romanticize about the retirement, but once they get really close to the retirement stage where they move from people at work to money at work, meaning you were responsible for earning a living and you knew that as long as you were able to go out and work, you were earning a paycheck and able to support yourself and your family, to money at work, where now you're relying on the assets and the savings that you have built through your working years to sustain you financially for the rest of your life, which again could be another 20, 25, 30 years. Going back to the boredom side of things, how many times have you ever come across an individual who retired and then within a matter of short months they passed away? Not by suicide necessarily, but some kind of heart attack or unexpected illness. I've dealt with three types of people over my lifetime when it comes to planning for retirement. I've dealt with the individual who is the strong saver. They will save every penny that they have. They will not spend any of it during their working years because they're going to retire and they might even retire early. And then they're going to enjoy all their money at retirement. And then they reach retirement and 6 months later they pass away. They've missed out on life. I've also had the other extreme where I've had people who say, I'm just going to keep spending my money because I really don't know when I'm going to go and I'm going to have fun with it. And then they reach 65 and they've gotten nothing and they're really, really healthy with another 20, 25 years ahead of them. And they have to continue on working. They're now forced to work as opposed to having the choice of shutting things down. I believe in a balance, take care of tomorrow, but also take care of yourself today. Have some fun, because we just don't know when our time, will come and we're no longer around on this earth. I'm a perfect example of that. At age 46, I found that I needed open heart surgery. It was a fluke on how it happened. But if that wasn't caught, I was months away from, going to bed, not waking up again. So that was a bit of a reality check for me as well. So enjoy today, have fun, enjoy some of your money, but also make sure that you plan for your retirement, for what's about to come down the road. Because again, you might be one of the fortunate ones that has a extremely healthy retirement. You want to make sure that you have the funds there to support yourself. So, the next highlight of the blog post, it says to walk, don't run. Really, what they're saying here is, again, don't just run into a hobby or an activity once you've retired. Slowly transition. So, if you feel that you're about a year or two away from retiring, start thinking about some of the things you would like to do when you are retired, some of the activities you might enjoy. Sometimes, again, I've had clients say to me, listen, I'm going to enjoy my grandkids. That's really what I want to do. And you're able to do that for a certain period of time. But then guess what happens? The grandkids grow up, they become teenagers, they have their own friends, they have their own lives. They really don't want to hang out with grandma and or grandpa on a regular basis because they have a whole bunch of other activities. And then what happens? So don't just rely on the grandkids and even friends. Try to find some activity that you quite enjoy, whatever that might be. Maybe you want to learn how to cook, or maybe improve your cooking skills, right? Take cooking lessons. There's so many things you could do, but just start planning for it before you actually reach that retirement goal, and then you can transition to it. And you know what might happen? You might decide that you're really enjoying this new hobby that you've rediscovered or just discovered. You might decide to maybe retire a little bit sooner, or there's nothing that says that you have to reach a certain age and then shut it all down from a career or work perspective. You can slowly transition out of it. Maybe reduce your hours if your employer allows you to, or if your business allows you to. Instead of working 5 days a week, maybe it's 4 days a week, down to three, down to two, whatever it might be. But see if you can try to slowly transition to it. I think you'll have a more successful retirement if you do it that way, based on what I've experienced with my other clients. Just to slowly do it, right, as opposed to just shutting it down. The next thing that it says here is to leverage your support network. This is really important. Talk to other friends who, or family, or individuals who have gone through what you're going through, who are retired. What are some of the things that they've done that have worked for them, and what are some of the things that they did that really didn't work for them? They didn't anticipate how that would work out for themselves. So try to maybe leverage your support network. And if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling scared, if you're feeling anxious, which most people tend to feel when they're really close to that retirement stage, speak to someone. Share your concerns, share your anxiety, what you're feeling. You don't want to have a bunch of sleepless nights over this, and talk it through with someone. And talk it through with me. Again, I've experienced helping people through the transition of people at work to money at work. I know some of the mistakes that people have made. I know some of the things that have worked really, really well. So I'd be more than happy to help you through that process. And if you are someone who is retired and have gone through this and are willing to speak to someone and share your experiences, please let me know. I can definitely record you on a call or on a recorded voice message, and I'd be more than happy to share that if you're okay with that. So please let me know. And then finally, it talks about use an approach built on purpose. So don't just find an activity for the sake of having an activity. Find something that you're passionate about, that you love, that you enjoy. Some retirees will open up a small business. There's nothing wrong with that. If that's your passion, if that's what is going to get you up in the morning and excited about your day, then do that. Open up a small business. some people might open up a full-fledged business and, maybe realize that they don't really want to be retired. There are people that want to keep working. I'll use, again, me as an example. I'm now 47 years old. When I think of retirement, I don't have an age that I'm looking at to shut things down. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. I love the people that I help. So I'm going to keep doing this for as long as, my health will allow me to, and I'm hoping that's well beyond age 65. I might slow it down a little bit. I might give myself a little more freedom on doing some more personal things, but I like what I do. Actually, I love what I do. And there are many people that I see and meet that either they love what they do or they just love being busy. They just love being around other people. So these are just some of examples that, again, they're written in the blog post. So I repeat, I encourage you to go to Newport Private Wealth's website, and that is, again, newportprivatewealth.ca. If you do have any questions, please reach out to me. Again, my name is Jim Leo, and I can be reached at 647-727-4668, or you can email me at jim@tvhgroup.ca. And I hope that you have a fabulous and wonderful day. Take care.